Good morning, everyone. Bonjour et bonsoir, mes amis et mes collègues en France. C'est à vous. The Academy is happy to be here with you. We want to thank our special partners, our special partenaire, UniFrance, for organizing this opportunity, for inviting Lorenza and Meredith from the Academy to join you and to speak about all of the amazing changes that we are making at the Academy, for this new Academy in these times. We have collaborated with UniFrance on many occasions and many wonderful events. I thank you so much, Serge and Daniela and your teams for our continued partnership. And also to Raj Roy, the Chief Curator at MOMA. He's joining our conversation today as well. So thank you, Raj. Thank you all for participating this morning, this evening, around the world. And here's our president, David Rubin.
Thanks, Dawn. This is a remarkable time in the history of the Academy. We're dealing with and adapting to life in a COVID-19 world, while also addressing this unique cultural moment that requires a response to a history of racial inequality. In the last 5 years, we have taken major steps toward seeing a more representative view of our world inside the Academy through the members we invite to join and the films that we celebrate. But it's clear that more work needs to be done. We are determined to continue making big moves that will reflect that commitment, now more than ever. The film industry recognizes this. Our fans around the world expect it. The people who participate in our many programs want to see it, and we want to deliver it. Dawn?
So we hope that today's presentation will offer insight into some of the steps we've taken, the steps we will continue to take. We'll need your partnership as well, all of you, to support this new world that we're entering. So thank you so much. We wish we were there with you and have a wonderful chat. And there's nothing more important than du cinéma at this moment. I mean, nothing more important than we can do is to support this art form and bring us all together around a cinema. Thank you.
You know, Dawn and I both look forward to the day that we can all be together on the croisette. Au revoir et merci beaucoup.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Serge, I had you the micro over to you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I think the situation is going better in France, maybe in Europe. I don't know in the States. As you know, the theaters are open since 2 days, and the shooting are start again. And I hope this situation will continue next weeks and next months. It's very important for cinema to be stronger than during this bizarre period of virus and coronavirus. I hope that the situation will be better even in the States. The informations are not so good day by day, I don't know, but we hope that it will be better soon as possible. And in France, as I don't know, Daniela, if on Monday the theaters were open, there is a lot of people who are going to see movies or no? Yes, I think so. No?
Yes, it does quite well. Yes, we don't have the exact figures, but it does quite well. So
this is very good news because it means that young people and people in France wanted to see movies, new movies, and even they saw a lot of movies on TV, on the platform during all the 3 months we are confined at home. It means that cinema is strong. Films are interesting. Their capacity of seduce people, and I hope it summer will be good. French cinema and European cinema and world cinema, of course. This is very important for UniFrance because we wanted to support film and to travel again. I don't know when it will be possible. Maybe we will be in Italy next week, in Roma. Maybe after we'll be in Venice, in beginning of September. It will be a good news for cinema to have the capacity to be in Venice and in San Sebastian too, Toronto, of course, and well, the life is going on after this big crisis we have all over the world, you know. So I'm optimistic, but we have to be realistic too. The situation is difficult. The cinema will be have some difficulties to survive, but we have a capacity of helping it with UniFrance and other partners like the Academy, of course. Well, this is very important to be together, to keep the link between us, to be stronger all together.
Thank you, Serge. I will be very quick, I promise. I really want to thank David, Dawn, Lorenza, Meredith for organizing this. I think it's, as everyone said, it's a crucial moment. It's a moment also where cinema is coming back, not only in its theaters, but also through the virtual marketing and the online market. We have a lot of exchanges about our European American cinema. And I think this kind of event we are organizing tonight will hopefully help all of you to a better understanding. I think it's very impressive what the Academy did over the last years on inclusion. And I think it's very important that we exchange on this point, because Europe and the United States have to exchange. It's more important than ever. We see all the movements right now are shaping our new realities of tomorrow, which will be the realities of our daily life, but also the realities of our cinema. And I hope and I trust artists to come up with stories that will move us more again and again and make us think how we can enter this new world that we are probably like just at the beginning of. So thanks to everyone. And I want especially to thank Raj Roy, because Raj is an active Academy member. He serves on various committees, including the international and also the animation and international feature voting committee. And personally, Raj, I know you from your job as chief film curator at MOMA, and me, but everyone in this film business knows you and is very thankful to your great work that you achieve on a daily, every day actually. So Raj, I hand the mic over to you. Serge and myself will out. It's up to you. The floor is to the Academy. Thank you and have an interesting panel.
Merci Daniela, merci Serge, bonsoir tous, tout le monde en France. C'est un très grand plaisir de zoomer avec vous. On peut dire zoomer, je ne sais pas si c'est quelque chose qu'on dit maintenant, mais welcome and good evening to everyone in France, and welcome to everyone around the world. It's my great pleasure to be here with you to moderate this discussion about the Academy, to introduce some of the amazing people behind the work that the Academy does. And with me are Lorenza Muñoz and Meredith Shea, the director and associate director of Member Relations and Awards. But before I bring them on, we have a very special video that the Academy has prepared from one of our international outreach initiatives and trips. If you can remember travel, this is a video from when the Academy was able to travel to Cuba. So if we could cue that up, please, as an introduction.
Yesterday was one of the great experiences of my life, and I think everybody in that room had a truly remarkable experience. we got connected with a fabulous high school. These are kids who are studying both classical music and jazz.
I didn't really know what would happen, but I was just looking at the kids and seeing how good they were.
Coming up the stairs, we could hear this is some of the best music you're hearing, like it's so pure.
La academia siempre para los cubanos no es más nada que un video, una película en la televisión, una película en el cine, y tenerlos tan cerca es algo increíble para nosotros.
We went in there to show them a little bit about what we do, about how music for a film is constructed, how songs for a film are constructed. What I did was take the cabinet of Dr. Caligari and took the first 5 minutes of it, explained it to the students, explained in very broad terms what dramatic beats we had to hit. And then we created live a score. Blow and click your keys at the same time, but no pitch. Perfect.
A mí la parte que más me gustó fue cuando la directora estaba explicando cada sonido que debía hacer cada instrumento.
And piano, good. Good. They understand that there's a musical tapestry of film composition that can come outside of normal performance practice. But what really blew the roof off was when my brother Raphael got up there and created a groove, layer by layer, starting with the bass. And then Common, who is a genius poet, freestyled on top of Raphael's groove.
You know how it is, Guadalajara. No drama, I'm in Cubana. To my people, I say, come on, Estar. And you should know how to do. I'll get you slow. Keep on.
It was a lot of fun, and they rocked, and the band just kept going, taking it higher.
A dream. There was so much energy from the kids. Started with us, with Laura, myself, then went to Common, and then it went back to the school, and the school took it over, and then we were sort of watching them. They became the show.
Ese final, donde todos bailamos, donde como que estamos, como se dice aquí en Cuba, gozando, como si nos hubiésemos conocido de tantos años. Eso fue súper que bonito. Gracias.
This is the new academy. This is what we need to be doing. It's not about teaching, it's about sharing. And they taught us as much about music yesterday as we taught them.
Just to experience the art of music and the love and the purity of these Cuban artists and musicians. It was like, wow, this is one of the greatest moments I've had. I'm grateful for that afternoon. That'll be an afternoon for the ages.
Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the Zoom Lorenza Muñoz and Meredith Shea. There you are. So one of these gorgeous women is the best salsa dancer in the Côte d'Azur, and the other makes the meanest cocktail in West LA. So we will figure that out by the end of this Zoom. But it's a pleasure to welcome you here this evening in France, Meredith and Lorenza. So for me, the heart of that, that video, other than the amazing experience that all seem to have, was that the Academy is people, right? There's a lot of questions like, who is the Academy? What is the Academy? Is it a show? Is it a bunch of buildings? No, it's people. And so I think that's where we wanted to start, is who is the Academy and how do those people become a part of it? So Lorenza, you want to start off a little bit, and then I'd love to have Meredith explain the process of membership. But when you started, has it been 10 years now since you've been with the Academy?
5.
5, oh.
Only 5,
Well,
yeah.
Made such a big impact. It feels longer. But the Academy was much smaller, and we've gotten up to about 9,000 members at this point, as of today, at least. You want to talk a little bit about what it was like when you joined and some of the challenges you saw when you joined?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, merci beaucoup à tout le monde, et c'est un plaisir. Thank you so much for having us, and Raj, thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm really happy that you put it in those terms, because you're exactly right. I think for the longest time, the Academy had been known as almost like this, ivory tower or castle on a hill that was untouchable and not accessible to people. And there were a lot of curtains of secrecy around it. And you're right that it's not about that. It's about the people. It's about the amazing membership, which to me is the crown jewel in this organization. It's been tremendous getting to know all of these talented filmmakers and everything they do in the community to make this beautiful art form. When I joined, it was a very different Academy. It was a much more insular place, looking very much inward, very US focused, very LA focused. And within the first few months that I arrived, we had the Oscar So White situation happen, which was very challenging, but it ended up.
Just to remind,
Go ahead.
To remind folks, that was when there were no acting nominees of color in that year.
Correct. And so the board really accelerated and made a definitive step to opening up and being an inclusive organization that is more representational. And we can talk more about that as we get further along, but now we can say that we are a much more inclusive organization. We are a much more international organization. And as you can see with our partnership with UniFrance, which has been such a blessing, we're expanding to France, we're expanding all over the world, and it's been tremendous.
So Meredith, I know we have a PowerPoint to bring up, and I think that will help folks understand a little bit the structure of the membership, and maybe you can talk us through all the branches and how people might become members of the Academy. So maybe we could pull up the PowerPoint. And head to the next slide.
Maybe the next.
There we are, and the next slide. Yep. One more.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Raj, and to UniFrance for having us this morning and this evening. Lorenza and I are so happy to be here to kind of clear up the misconceptions about the Academy. I think a lot of people have one view where, as Lorenza said, it was very insular and it wasn't an open place where people could come and even ask questions about how to become a member, or their film could be a part of the competition. So I think we'll start with the basics and just talk about how the Academy is made up, to go back to the people who make it. There are 17 branches of the Academy. They are all of the crafts that go into making a movie and those who are part of the film industry. So one thing that I'd like everyone to consider is the fact that actors vote on actors and writers vote on writers. So it's really the way that the people become members is it's their peers that are reviewing them. It is not just some group that you don't know. We've made a lot of efforts over the years to make it more transparent. So we list all of the executive committees that review both, membership and awards rules. It's all public and you can see who those members are. 2 years ago, we launched a membership directory on our member portal, so members could start meeting themselves and just connecting. So Lorenza, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add about the importance of our members essentially commingling, so it's not even just branch specific.
Yeah, I mean, that's another part of what we're trying to do to engage our membership and to try to make it feel like a more inclusive community, where we like to think of this as cross-pollination, right? So that if you're a director, you haven't met any female composers, say, well, we can do that for you. We have the best female composers in the world as members. Sound, visual effects, writers, all of these categories and branches can benefit from getting to know each other and to expand the possibilities of opportunity and of representation for people in the industry.
So we actually just had a couple of questions, which I think relate right to this. And I think there's a next slide about how to become a member. Yes. So one was like, what are the qualifications for a member at large? I'm actually a member at large. So I understand that can be a complex question, but for each branch, there are qualifications. That's actually all listed publicly, right, on the Academy's public-facing website. But one thing to remember is that it's a nomination process, not an application process. Meredith, maybe you can talk us through that.
Absolutely. So each of the branches every year meet to review the new class of members. So as I said previously, it is actors reviewing actors, directors reviewing directors. So it's separate qualifications for each branch. So in one branch, and I'll just speak to one that I handle, which is the film editors, they require 4 feature single card credits for admittance to that branch. But in the case of costume design, there's 10 years of work. There's, I believe, almost 10 credits, Lorenza, if I'm mistaken. So every branch has completely different membership requirements. So we do have all of that publicly listed. We have the website right there for, you know, everyone to go take a look to understand why it's different for each of the categories and branches.
And I have to say, it's become a lot more transparent. You've mentioned transparency, I think both of you, and I have to say, as both someone who has been looking at the Academy and now from the inside, transparency has really, really been the mantra, and I know this panel is part of that. So moving on to that, the Incredible Diversity Initiative, which I think will be held up as a model for the field and probably even beyond our field, A2020. Lorenza, maybe you could talk a little bit about what this was, because we're now in the final phase of this successful program, and then we'll talk about what's to come.
Of course, yes, we're so proud of this initiative. And again, it was born out of the difficulties of Oscar So White in January of 2016. The board set out specific goals to make sure that we did become more inclusive and representational. So that goal was to double the number of women and diverse members by 2020. So we set out that January, right, Meredith, with
yes, we did.
A lot of anxiety, hoping we could reach the goal. And I'm happy to report that we surpassed the goal. It was a concerted effort by everybody, all of our governors, many of our members, certainly our department, the Member Relations and Awards Department has really led the charge on this, and my team has been just tremendous effort by everybody. But it's been a very happy thing, and I can say to you that we started in 2015 with about 24% female members, and as of 2019, we're getting the 2020 numbers soon, but as of 2019, we were at 32%. So we did a tremendous jump there with in the United States, how they say people of color, people ethnically and racially diverse. We have, we went from 8% to 15% in 2019. So it's been a tremendous success. And as Raj said, the success has been about the people and the coming together of our diverse members, and we're opening up this community so that there are opportunities for anyone who is talented.
So not to rest on your success, which, you know, I think many organizations would kind of say, goal, you know, mission accomplished, goal achieved. Now can we just get back to doing what we love doing? I think we were all, I was certainly blown away, but everyone was really impressed that even before the latest class of Academy members was announced as the final chapter of A2020, the next initiative was recently announced. And that's called Academy Aperture 2025. And it seems to me to be hugely ambitious. And I know a lot of it is still in development, but could you maybe talk us through what the main goals of Aperture 2025 are?
Absolutely, Raj. And you know, with my background, I'm Mexican, and I've seen and I've been either covering this industry or around this industry now for a long, long time. I won't say how many years. And I've always, the focus for me has always been about inclusion and representation. So to me, the idea that our efforts to be a more inclusive industry would end with 2020, that never figured into my thinking. I've always believed that this needs to be an organic part of the fabric of the Academy, that it behooves the Academy, that it is in the best interest of this industry as well to be inclusive, and that's the only way that they're going to move forward, because we are a diverse world, and if you don't represent half the world or 40% of the world, you're in trouble. So anyway, I did start working on this probably a year ago. We started like really focusing on it, and the centerpiece of this is really about the eligibility for the Oscar. Most people associate the Academy with the Oscars, right? Even though we have 364 days worth of activities that happen outside of the Oscars, everybody knows the Oscars. So what we have decided to do is to create some inclusion standards that, you know, have yet to take full shape. We're discussing now exactly how it would look, but they're modeled somewhat on the BFI standards that qualify films for BAFTAs. What this means is that we will be asking for demographic data to be submitted along with the Best Picture eligibility requirement. And down the line, we're going to give everybody plenty of time to you know, obviously read the requirements, to get familiar with the requirements, to build up towards the requirements, eventually leading to whether or not a film could be eligible for an Oscar if it's not diverse and inclusive and representational. We will be rolling this out as soon as we have the details. We want this to be a very collaborative, not onerous, not prescriptive. We want to work in collaboration with all of our partners, the studios, the production companies, the distributors, our friends at the PGA, our friends at BFI, and our friends at BAFTA, so that there are universal standards that every company is thinking about inclusion and representation from the very beginning. It's top of mind. That's one. The other piece that is really important is about broadening the aperture of what is considered excellent, right? That there are many ways to view art, and what we want at the Academy is for all of our filmmakers and films to get viewed through that prism of a broad scope of what excellence means. So you can have a film that's a comedy or a drama, a comedy or a horror film that are exquisitely made and acted and written, and that could be an Oscar-worthy film, right? We want racial and ethnic diversity. We want international diversity. I think you saw this year for the first time. I think it was Meredith's crowning moment. We had an international feature film win Best Picture, and I mean, Parasite actually swept the Oscars. We've had many of our Mexican directors win Oscars. So the Academy is becoming more international, but we really want our members to view films year-round, to watch them from January to December, to think about films that come out in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and really broaden their aperture of storytelling and diversity.
So, I mean, look, I know personally, having experienced the transition from you must come and sit in this seat to be able to vote or opine on a film for the Academy, to having access to an amazing streaming portal, which I know is only going to grow as part of this effort. And I actually think that that will be most beneficial in a way. So there are Academy offices in New York, LA, and London. And I know there have been Academy events in Rome and Paris, for example. But the international inclusion effort extends beyond just events and screenings. There's actually a committee, an executive committee chaired by Marcus Hu, that is dedicated to not only recruiting new members, but getting members out into the field, right? Out to festivals, out to events. And you will be seeing members out and about, hopefully near you very soon if you haven't already. Meredith, you want to talk a little bit about those events and the committee's work?
Absolutely. I think it's really important that the Academy has gone out to where their members are in the world. So we've done events at Cambriage in Poland. We do an annual member reception at ITFA in Amsterdam. This past year, my colleague and I attended the Annecy Film Festival for the first time. And we'll have about 100 members there because it's part of the film community. This is where leaders in animation, cinematography, and documentary go every year to celebrate filmmaking. And the Academy having that presence is very important because it goes back to the cross-pollination that Lorenza was talking about, but it also brings a connection to the Academy to the filmmaking community on all levels. So having presentations like this at those festivals clear up submission issues, membership, and it just creates a very, jovial celebration. It doesn't always have to be a very formal, you're voting for the Oscars and that's it. It is nice for people to just get together, have a drink, and see friends that they haven't seen in a long time. We can go to the next slide just to talk about some of the missions of the International Inclusion Initiative. Going back on the expansion of membership, one of the things that we've done is looking at the international feature nominees and having them go to the membership committees for review. So that's another way of kind of expanding the aperture that Lorenza was talking about, of just putting filmmakers and craftspeople in front of those committees to open the Academy up.
And if I could add, Raj, that we were very active in Europe. We have our London office run by Carola Ash, who, if anybody's in the UK or Europe, they know Carola, and she's just a tremendous asset for the Academy. We're so lucky to have her. We have Patrick Harrison in New York, and who's also tremendous and fabulous, and everybody in New York knows Patrick. But we want to also expand our relationships in Latin America and in Africa and in Asia. Last year, David Rubin and I went to the Los Cabos Film Festival, which is a beautiful film festival. If anybody has not gone, please do. It's really wonderful. And we hope to continue that relationship with them. We are also in conversation. We went to the Morelia Film Festival. I went with John Bailey and Greg Nava, and that again is another gorgeous film festival that really celebrates film history, and it's in a colonial, very historic city in Mexico. So Mexico is a very important piece of this. We would love to set up something in South America. We hope to do something in Morocco, and hopefully something in Asia. And anyway, we don't want to be just Europe-centric. We want to make sure that we're inclusive of all of our filmmaking community around the world. And Marcus Hugh has been just a transcendent leader of this inclusion initiative, guiding us, helping us, connecting us, and we really have come this far in part because of Marcus.
Literally would not be sitting here without Marcus. So, I love it. So before we get to the meat of what I'm sure most people on the line are really interested in, is how do I submit my films for Oscars and how do I qualify? There's one more very important initiative that I'd love to address. If we go to the next slide. One thing that I noticed when publicizing this, this program, there were photos of 5 people. And that of those 5 people, 3 were women. And those are the leadership of the staff leadership of the Academy. 2 were people of color, whoop whoop, and 2 were openly gay men. And I have to say, for David Rubin to, I mean, obviously it's not primary qualifying, aspect of his presidency, but it is incredibly moving that he would step into the presidency. I'm not sure he's the only gay president, but let's say he's the only openly gay president. But specifically the role of women in the Academy has been transformative. And I think for me, those 5 portraits were very emblematic of this new moment. But talk about Academy Gold and the role of getting more women involved in the Academy.
Yeah, if we could move to the next slide. So this is our Gold Fellowship for Women, which we willed into existence. The Academy had never actually brought their female members together in any kind of social setting. And so we thought, we need to actually introduce female agents, female directors, female producers, female executives to the rest of our female members, so that whenever they get asked the question, who are you going to hire? Are there any women you can hire? There is no excuse anymore for saying, I don't know any good female sound artists, right? We actually have a list of the best female sound artists, the best female visual effects supervisors, the best female writers, etc. So we felt it was really important for that type of networking opportunity to exist for our members. And it was very moving to see that some of our members had been in the Academy for 20 years or more and had never met a member from outside of their branch. So it was tremendous. And we had our first event in Los Angeles. It was a very intimate luncheon we had with representatives from every branch, all of our female governors. And it was a terrific event with Lena Waithe and Hannah Gadsby in conversation. And then we had Annie Lennox talk about female empowerment and also sing. This past year, all of this really began, I have to give credit to Carola Ash in London, who began these beautiful luncheons with her female members. And we saw how moved everybody was to get to know each other, to really be able to appreciate each other's art form and to celebrate womanhood. So we've done it in London. We've done 2 beautiful gatherings in Paris, and we did one last year in New York. And for each of these gatherings, we select an Academy Gold Fellow. And I mean, we really hit the jackpot on this one. We selected Maimouna Decouré to be our Gold Fellow in Paris last year. And voila! Maimouna, her film was shown in Sundance. She was selected as best, I think it was Best New Director. And Cuties was picked up by Netflix for distribution. And it was a really moving thing to see one of our fellows so quickly get to a place of strength, right? And to have us help her get there in any way was such an honor. And I hope she's on and watching because it's just wonderful. And Meredith, I don't know if you want to speak to Muñoz.
I think it's really beautiful. There was a wonderful photo from the Oscars this past year of Lorenza with all of the 5 fellows. And it's a really beautiful photograph because it shows that so many people have been impacted by this initiative and for the better. And, you know, it's really the Academy putting its money where its mouth is, and we're giving back, and it really helps these women in so many ways. This past March, before the world went crazy, we were in Paris to give another grant, and it was a full circle moment, I think, for the Academy, just because the recipient was submitted in international feature this past year, and there were so many issues with the film to get it eligible, and now to basically meet, I'm getting emotional just because it was I'm sorry, it's so nice to see that there were so many issues back in October with, you know, getting Papiche in the competition, that to go to Paris and see that this film has been recognized and now the grant is offering more opportunities is just a really beautiful thing.
It has all been, I have to say, incredibly inspiring. So we've talked about the great things you've done for transparency and openness. Now let's move to eligibility. So if we get the next slide, Meredith, can you please help us understand what's going on? No, look, a lot of people think the staff of the Academy spend all their time getting ready for their red carpet moments and, you know, glamming. Not at all. You know, what huge lift, especially in the membership and awards office, is about making the rules for submissions more transparent and evolving those rules to better reflect the world we live in and the field we operate in. So let's move to the next slide. And if you could just talk us through eligibility, please.
Absolutely. It is true, Raj. I do not wear an evening gown every day. It is not Hollywood glamour. A lot of it is the administration and the oversight of the rules and eligibility for the Oscars. So the 93rd Oscars, we've announced many changes. So I'm going to do as much top line that I can to describe the changes that we have this year. So obviously the Academy recognizes that movie theaters have been closed worldwide. So for the 93rd Oscars only, we've made the exception that if films had a previously planned theatrical release, but are initially made available on streaming or video on demand, they may qualify for Best Picture if they meet these provisions. So the film will need to be made available on the Academy's Screening Room app, which is our member-only site where members can watch films. That needs to be within 60 days of the film's streaming or VOD release. And then the film must meet all of the other eligibility requirements when it comes to submission. So those are the big picture changes for this year, because we recognize that, you know, COVID has really caused a devastating impact. So we wanted to make sure that filmmakers had the opportunity to still submit their films. We can go to the next slide. So now that we move on to the international feature category, I know that this category is really one that is very complex. So I just want to let everyone know that it is modeled after the Olympics, where it is one film per country that is submitted in this category. Our wonderful partners at the CNC in France are one of the oldest selection committees, dating back to when the category started over 60 years ago. One thing I always like to mention about this category is that animated and documentary feature films are eligible. So it doesn't always need to be a live action narrative that is submitted for consideration. And that goes back to opening the aperture. We've had some really remarkable animated films that have been nominated over the past few years. So it's nice to see that more countries are putting different kinds of films forward. The Academy has nothing to do with how films are selected by the country. We let all of that happen by the selection committees themselves because there's different film industries. So you can't compare the way, you know, the film industry in Korea to the film industry in Kenya. They're just two completely different film industries. So we allow the selection committees to operate themselves. We do certify that films must be in the creative control of the residence and country of origin, which means the film that is coming to us must be made up of citizens from that country. So those are the big top line. And then one thing I also like to remind everyone is that if a film is not an official selection, it could still be eligible for Best Picture, General Entry, and Animated Feature, Doc Feature, and those specialty categories. So that is not the only avenue in which films can come to us, films that are made outside of the US.
And I think all you have to do is ask Bong Joon-ho or Pedro Almodovar or any number of international, formerly known as foreign language directors, if they can win Oscars in other categories, which obviously
Correct.
they can win all of them.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time for this presentation. There are a bunch of really great questions. Let's just go quickly through the rest of the slides because there are some key information in these. Meredith, you want to highlight things?
Of course. So for International Feature this year, I just want to point out that International Feature is not a branch-specific award, the way that directing is voted on by directors and the doc branch votes on documentary. International Feature is made up of members of all branches. And for the first time this year, we're putting all of the submissions. So last year we had 90+ submissions. All of the preliminary films will be made available on the Academy streaming room. So members from all over the world will be able to participate for the first time. And I think that's a really exciting change in this category where it used to be very LA focused or it wasn't as global. Now it's truly becoming a global award. It's still 2 rounds of voting, but the big change this year is that all Academy members are able to participate in both rounds. So we can go to the next slide. And a big note that we just made is all of our key dates. So our next slide includes all of our new submission dates and voting dates and our show date that was moved by 2 months. So we moved all of our submission deadlines by 2 months to give films an opportunity to finish up. So if a film was halted in production and needed to go back and finish filming, it gives filmmakers more time in the editing bay, all of that. So we've moved all of our deadlines by 2 months and we extended the eligibility period from December 31st, 2020 to February 28th, 2021. So that's another 2-month extension for filmmakers and distributors to get their films finished and get them to the Academy for Oscar consideration, which I think is really great.
And one thing that people might note is missing from this calendar are the Governor's Awards, which is always one of the great events, certainly in Hollywood, but around the world. And I've experiences was watching Agnes Varda get the first honorary Oscar for a woman director, which was just, I know Serge was there as well. And then there's one last slide, I think, with another huge change for the Academy, finally coming after 90+ years. Lorenza, you want to just mention quickly the Academy Museum?
Yes, so the Academy Museum is now set to open in April of 2021, and it's going to be an immersive, expansive, transformational experience. It's really, truly going to be amazing. A real destination in Los Angeles. It's a historic building, if you can believe that, in LA. They didn't tear it down.
From 39, no less, the greatest year in cinema.
So they've refurbished the building. It's spectacularly beautiful. It's in Museum Row, and Bill Kramer and his team there are really building something that is going to be just tremendous. Renzo Piano is the architect who added the modern touches, as you can see there with the sphere, the glass sphere. So yes, everybody's welcome in April, and we plan on using it a lot, and it's going to be really wonderful.
I've been inside. I can tell you it's spectacular, and I can't wait for everybody to experience it. So we've been graciously gifted a few extra minutes, and I know there are some wonderful questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Gubbins, who is going to moderate the Q&A portion of this discussion.
Hello, let me see if I'm on. There I am. Thanks very much, everyone. Really informative discussion, I think. Raj, I think you suggested that a lot of the questions that you were expecting would be about submissions, and particularly there's a few of those, but I think there's a broader theme that's come through from your discussion, which is when we're talking about new realities, I think here in Europe and all over the world, I think people saw the Academy's problem as a problem for the industry as a whole. And I think that kind of sense that leadership is coming from the Academy too is extremely welcome. So I think a lot of the discussion, which maybe when you're answering, you can make sure that it has that context, is a lot is changing. Really exciting things are changing, but it's always going to be a slow process, and cultural shifts are much harder than any other shifts. And you're talking about decades and decades of behavior, which I think reflects the way a lot of things have been happening around the world. So what I'll say is some of those questions I think have a theme underlying them, which I will try to address as we go through. But let's get the boring, well, not the boring ones, let's get the important ones out of the way, which are just the simple ones. So just to be clear, you've now, the Oscar ceremony has moved 2 months and the deadline submission has gone with it. That's absolutely clear, isn't it? That's a done deal. I think we got that one straight. As far as theatrical release is concerned, that's obviously an issue that a number of people have raised too, which is obviously previously it was very important that there were that those theatrical releases, the rules on theatrical release before eligibility were very important. Can you just tell us if there's been any changes on that front, bearing in mind that theatres have been closed and the world shifted on its axis a wee bit with closed cinemas? So anything changed on eligibility as far as theatrical release is concerned?
Yes. And Meredith, do you want to go into the details of how it's changed?
Absolutely. So I think with theaters closed worldwide, the board recognized that it needed to make changes to the theatrical eligibility requirement. So previously in the Best Picture category, films needed to open in a commercial theater in Los Angeles County and screen for 7 consecutive days, 3 times a day. With the changes that were announced back in April, the board expanded the amount of counties in which films could qualify in, because they realized that if theaters remained closed in Los Angeles, they wanted to give filmmakers and distributors the opportunity to open those films theatrically. So we did expand the theatrical counties to include Miami, Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco, and New York, just so films could use that avenue to qualify. We understand that sometimes films had previous contracts with to-go video on demand or with streaming companies. So if a film did have a previously planned theatrical release, but also had the streaming agreement, films are still eligible to qualify as long as they provide the streaming content to the Academy for us to make the films available for our members. So that's the biggest change when it comes to the theatrical requirements for the 93rd Oscars.
And you know, what we've tried to do with this is to be as flexible as possible and to adjust to the times, right? And to make sure that our filmmakers felt supported by the Academy. This is only for this year. And we will be reviewing this, I think, pretty much on a monthly basis to see when theaters start opening again. Obviously, the Academy still stands behind the theatrical experience. There is no better way to watch a film other than in a theater with your friends and with that sound and that glorious vision. So we definitely stand behind that and look forward to when we can all go back to theaters all the time.
The old normal will be nice at some point. Some bits of the old normal are great anyway. So there was a very specific question about students actually that maybe someone can ask, but it kind of talks to a bigger issue around diversity. And it's a feeling that professional studios can pay for theatrical release to qualify short films, for example, and students aren't in that same position. And they're feeling that maybe students are in a worse position than professional studios. And if that's something you're aware of, or any thoughts?
I don't understand the question really. I mean, we have our Student Academy Awards. We have programs for students to submit their shorts and to be recognized. You know, I mean, I think we all need to recognize that to be in any industry takes time to get to a level of the Olympics, right? You don't become an Olympic athlete in one day. It takes many, many years of training. So to become an Oscar-winning director or anything, Oscar-winning anything, takes time. And we are hopeful that the Academy, and we're really trying to do this, that we create programs from the student level all the way up to when you win an Oscar and are an Academy member. And so we're developing all of that so that we keep in touch with all of the emerging talent and in any way try to guide them, nurture them, etc., through our Academy membership, so that they can eventually be at a place that is the Olympics of filmmaking.
But there is no theatrical requirement for short films, right?
There's actually 2 avenues in which short films can qualify for Oscar consideration. So to the question from the audience that yes, films can open in a theater when theaters open and they can four-wall a film, or they can win a qualifying festival award. So on the Academy's website, under our awards rules and eligibility, there's a list of the Academy qualifying festivals for each of our 3 short film awards. So it's not just spending money to get into a theater, there's also the festival circuit to have your film qualify.
Okay, you mentioned the Olympics. The Olympics seems to be a popular theme at the moment, but there's a feeling that 2 or 3 questions are kind of coming back to, which is, why is there only one international, you know, why are we splitting things up territory by territory? When we're talking about global diversity, it's clear that within each individual country, there's going to be lots and lots of very diverse attitudes towards film, and a feeling that international goes down country by country seems to some a bit unfair, and perhaps arguably it pushes against some of your desire for a more global, diverse entry.
So Meredith, let me set this up and you can answer with the details, but the beauty of our Oscar eligibility process is that it actually does offer opportunity for movies from around the world to be submitted for Best Picture. So we want this to be expansive and broad, and I think Parasite kind of showed the way. It won like almost every category last year. So Meredith, please jump in.
Absolutely. I think to Lorenza's point, what is unique about the international feature category is that it does create an even playing field for films all over the world. And it's nice to have films from Africa and Asia and Europe all together. And the model that was created was to bring the best films from those countries and put them in front of Academy members. So that category has really expanded and grown over the last 10 years, where it used to be around, 40 submissions. And now I think it's going to be over 90 consistently. And we're slowly seeing different Academy branches embrace international cinema. So yes, Parasite is the key example that they swept the Oscars last year, and it was an unconventional Korean Black comedy that was the first film to win Best Picture and International Feature. But if you look back, there's a lot of international films that are recognized outside of the category. The makeup, they've awarded Border, or they've nominated Border and A Man Called Ove from Sweden. Oscar for Hardy's had writing for a Separation. We've also had Amor receive multiple nominations. So I think that it is expanding slowly throughout each of the categories.
And people should know that you can submit your movie, even if your country doesn't select your movie, you can submit your movie for Best Picture consideration.
Yeah, I think you made that clear in your discussion. I think it's really that sense that that nations come down to a single film, and I think for some people that seems problematic. There are some categories where there's a lot of animation, a lot of interest in animation at the moment in Europe, and one of the concerns is that only one animated short film can qualify from outside the US. Is that right?
No, that is not right. Anyone can submit for the animated short film and the animated feature category. So those are open categories where any film can come in and be a part of those Oscar categories. Good.
I hope that answers that particular question. There was a number of questions on that front. On the membership, we're talking a lot about how you create long-term cultural change, and you talk about those very impressive progress you've made in terms of women and people of color. You know, there's a degree of skepticism which I think we always have to answer ourselves, which is, are those representative across the board? You know, are someone's talking about whether the 15% people of color you're talking about are they in the creative categories, or do we find that there are categories which have more and some categories that have far less? Or do you feel that's happening across the board?
So I think what we discovered with our A2020 process is that, you know, the Academy, once again, we're the end of the road, right? Things don't begin with the Academy. And so if the industry at large is not making an effort, an intentional effort to hire, to promote, to mentor, to guide people of color and women through their career, we don't have a pipeline to choose from, right? So we are really going to focus our efforts from now on that situation, because the Academy, you know, what we can do is convene people to have this conversation, and those conversations have begun, and it's going to take a lot of introspection, a lot of intention. It's going to mirror, I think, what the United States of America is going through now in terms of a reckoning of lack of progress for many people of color and women. And they're going to be difficult conversations, but I think the leadership is committed to change, and they're going to have to everybody's going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and pushing the envelope so that we do have more to choose from and people feel like they're being represented and they have opportunity.
I think the issue for some is it's when you're awarding excellence and when you're trying to build excellence, and you talk about the Olympics, you talk about the end of this is recognition of careers built. I think there's that concern that someone's going to have to give. There are people who are going to have to give up a degree of power in order for other people to have that power. In order to have women in those positions, there are men who are going to have to give up some of that power. And I think there's a sense, do you get a sense that there is a momentum here, an unstoppable momentum where people are accepting that things are going to change whether they like it or not, and that they are willing to give up some of the authority and the power that they've had, because it's going to have to happen?
I think those are the conversations that are happening. And again, it's not just Hollywood. I mean, it's every industry in the United States of America. And so all of these conversations are happening. the Academy, all we can do is convene people for those conversations and to shine a light and to lead by example. And so, you know, that's what we're trying to do, and to have those conversations and really try to push to advance this this issue.
I understand, and I also think we need to accept that that same conversation is going on in Europe. This isn't just a US issue. You know, we've had the demonstrations all the way across Europe, and we've had those same issues about diversity within our own film funds and with our own broadcasts and film systems. You know, we know all that, but that feeling of shared need and shared desires. You talk about partnerships, but people are saying, well, how do we build those partnerships? You know, as a non-member, how do I help the Academy build and encourage that inclusivity? Because you are doing things, that's clear, but I think people want to feel that there's more that could be done. There are more international partnerships that could build, and they would like to get more involved. How might that happen?
No, believe me, we would love to have more international partnerships. Yes, we would love that. I think it's a question of resources at the moment. Like, we would love to have a bureau in every country. That's just not feasible at the moment. We are a membership organization, so that is primarily where our focus is. But, you know, our partnership with UniFrance, our partnership with Cinecittà, our partnership with Los Cabos, we are forming those partnerships. And I think people tend to forget this movement at the Academy started 5 years ago. And so we feel we've made tremendous progress in those 5 years, and we will continue to make more progress now that there's a foundation that's been laid. And we are open, and we would love to see more, and we will see more. That's not going away.
I guess it's about the mechanisms for making that happen. I mean, there's a question which I hear a lot from festivals saying the eligibility to become an Oscar qualifying festival seems a bit opaque. People aren't quite sure. They know it happens, but it's really about how you build the mechanisms for partnership, and you build those links in ways which people can understand. I guess that's a big task.
It's not a big task. No, and I think that's what we've been working towards is that openness, right? And to get rid of the opaqueness and the mystery behind everything. But again, I do have to stress, it's a membership organization, and it's up to the members in their specific branches to determine what the criteria is for those specific festivals. It's not, you know, we are an organization that is for the elite of this art, right? That doesn't mean it's elitist. It just means you are part of this community that has achieved a certain level, right? Again, that doesn't take away from anybody else and efforts to grow and to improve and to become better, but it's a membership organization, and those details are really hammered out and decided by our membership. So we will continue to do partnerships. We will continue to meet new people. Again, UniFrance is a brand new partnership, so is Cinecittà, so is Los Cabos, and we'll continue to build on that. And Meredith, did you want to add anything?
No, you hit it perfectly.
Raj?
Look, I'll say I used to run a tiny little, well, it's not a tiny little festival, but a small festival that became an Oscar qualifying festival, and it meant the world. And at the time, I wasn't quite sure how that happened, but once it did, we took it very seriously. And I think part of my mission as both a member who are fighting those battles, right? There are some internal battles that need to be fought, but also as a member of a committee that's working specifically towards that, I want to make sure that festivals in Mumbai and Busan and, you know, around the world know that there's a pipeline that's opening to them. It may not be tomorrow, but it's on.
So transparency, you're saying what you're looking for, that's going to help you build those broader international relationships that you're saying is a big part, I think, of what you're trying to achieve. A couple of things on the women's, what you're talking about resources that women are able to use, or everyone's able to use, about women in particular crafts, about women in certain positions. Is that something that's available widely, or is that just within the membership? And for individual members that they can find your database?
Yes, at the moment it's for the members, but we do recognize the importance of having some form of public membership roster available. Again, we're working towards that. We're working towards it.
Okay. So I think that's our time up, but I think in broad terms, I think what you're hearing is you've got people cheering on this over here in Europe. You've got people cheering right around the world. That this feels like a very significant change and a very significant process that you've begun. And as I say, people feel that the Oscars belong to them too. I realize it's a membership organization and the rest of it, but it's visible. It's the most visible ceremony in the entire world that has the film industry at its heart. And I think people want to be part of that, and they want to help you do those things and build those partnerships. I hope that what we're going to see is the dialogue that and the openness that you've shown today continue, and that people will feel that they're empowered in some way to come and talk to you about how you can learn also from our experiences. We can share those things. But I think people's dreams for the panel, I think that people's dreams here is of the world that I think you're looking for. And I think it is that world where film reaches that new reality we're all looking for, that sustainability, diversity, and strength that I think we all are hoping for. It's great to see that the Academy is looking to lead those things. And I think everyone here is looking forward as much as possible to be active, play an active role in helping you along. So thanks very much. Really informative.
Michael, we welcome that. We want to participate with the world. We want our film-loving community to feel a part of the Academy, to watch the Oscars, to feel a stake in it, to feel like the Academy membership that's voting for the Oscars has their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the world, that they're attuned to the cultural zeitgeist, that it is a medium that makes you feel less alone, right? And that uplifts humanity or turns a lens towards the conditions of humanity, and that it's an art form like no other. So we welcome that, and we thank you. And yes, Meredith, Raj and I are absolutely here for any questions, follow-up, or any of that.
And that's a wonderful way to wrap it up, Lorenza, especially as we're all going to turn off our cameras and find that we're in our kitchens. And let's pray the world opens up soon. So thanks very much to the panel. Thanks very much to the audience. And hopefully we'll see you all soon somewhere real. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, UniFrance.